Howdy. Serene is a distant planet inhabited by the descendants of Earth organisms seeded, for lack of a better word, there throughout history and prehistory. Like Earth, the ecosystems of Serene are incredibly diverse, more so than I can do proper with one, let alone 100 videos. So henceforth my range of study will be restricted to the known world, the part of the world that is known to the people. For all intents and purposes, that is this area up on screen now. Said area has a name, the Clouded Sea, called so for being quite murky year-round, so much that one typically can't see more than a quarter of a meter or so down, around 10 inches for my fellow Freedom Unit and paid healthcare enjoyers. The Clouded Sea and the surrounding land masses, those being the continent of Erythrae in the north and west, the island continent of Doyani in the southeast, and the Arctic continent of Ikoya even further south, it's not on this map, have been the location of the portal of sorts that bring fauna here, which leads to a relatively chaotic and shifting biosphere. However, one surprising group has eked out a living in these ever-fluctuating landscapes. One that you know. You know 'em, you love 'em. The tapirs. Tapirs as a group are relatively old and unchanged as far as mammals go. To quote Wikipedia, Tapirids is a superfamily of perissodactyls which includes the modern tapir. Members of the superfamily are small to large browsing mammals, roughly pig-like in shape, with short prehensile snouts. Their closest relatives are the other odd-toed ungulates, including horses and rhinoceroses. Taxonomically, they are placed in the suborder Ceratomorpha along with the rhino superfamily Rhinoceratoidea. The first members of Tapirids appeared during the early Eocene, 55 million years ago. The Malayan tapir, a species still alive today, is assumed to have evolved 25 million years ago. Not a direct ancestor to the species or anything. Tapirus indicus itself, the Malayan tapir, is 25 million years old. What? They're ridiculously old, like even for mammals, especially for still living mammals. To further go into detail, the first tapirids, such as Heptodon, appeared in the early Eocene. They appeared very similar to modern forms, but were about half the size and lacked the proboscis. The first true tapirs appeared in the Oligocene, and by the Miocene, such genera as Myotapirus were almost indistinguishable to the extant species. It is believed that Asian and American tapirs diverged around 20 to 30 million years ago, and that tapirs migrated from North America and Central America into South America around 3 million years ago as part of the Great American Interchange. For much of their history, tapirs were spread across the Northern Hemisphere, where they became extinct as recently as 10,000 years ago. To be completely honest, it surprises me that tapirs never expanded into more megafaunal niches. The largest known species, Tapirus augustus, from the Middle and Late Pleistocene of Southeast Asia, was by modern estimates only around 620-something kilograms or 1,300 pounds. That may sound big, but the largest extant, or currently alive tapir species, the Malayan tapir, is around 350 kilos or 800 pounds, which is like 3/4, maybe? I don't know. Quick math isn't easy. Tapirs, while mostly herbivorous, have strong jaws, a trunk, and above-average intelligence even for a mammal. It is those reasons, along with the fact that I just really like them. I mean, look at that. That is a cute animal right there. They are the dominant mammalian herbivores of the land around the Clouded Sea. Sirine tapirids are generally split into 3 groups. The big, the really big, and the really big, though the groupings are, of course, polyphyletic and mean nothing in reflection to genealogy. However, I will cover the species in order of size from smallest to biggest, with one exception that will be apparent later. Without further ado, let's get into the smallest, but still big ones. The smallest of the currently known species is the water boar, at around the size of modern tapirs. A small amphibious generalist, the water boar has adapted to take full advantage of the plentiful temperate rainforests and waterways of its island home. The island of Doyani is home to plentiful rivers and lakes, hence the island's nickname in the local vernacular, the Land of Lakes and Men. It is also where humans first came to the planet, as far as they're aware. Despite being the smallest and lightest of the Doyanian tapirs, it is second highest in total amount of biomass. You'd be hard-pressed to find an annually wet part of the island continent that doesn't at least have traces of this keystone species. Water boars are popular as livestock due to their overall calm demeanor, high-calorie milk, and large fat reserves, though are not yet truly domesticated. However, there are attempts currently underway to create a breed more tolerant to the cold, so as to help with the efforts of colonizing, in air quotes, the polar continent of Ikoya. Serene is a warmer place than Earth, with it currently being in a greenhouse period, but the Arctic and Antarctic circles can still become, cold. Water boars, while not a spectacle to look at or hear about, are still an important part of the ecology of its environment. The next largest tapir is the sprinter hog. It can be daunting to view one initially, as they don't seem to look that much like tapirs. In fact, they don't seem to look all that much like anything. Though it is clear upon closer examination that they are, in fact, tapirs. One major defining feature of the species is the desaturated yellow coloration, which initially evolved to help the calves of the species blend into the grass of the... Okay, I forget how to pronounce that, but it's the prairie in the north of Doyani. I'll have it cut in later. I'll have it edited in at a later time how to pronounce it. But on the north side of the island. However, this inadvertently helped the adult individuals as well, as the silhouette can be hard to pinpoint when the hog is running at their max speed of 80 kilometers per hour or 30 miles per hour. Wow, kilometers really are much smaller than miles. Huh. Another quite obvious feature is the large bulbish Squidwardish nose. The nose of the sprinter hog has plentiful fat storage, which, while used as, fat storage, also helps to warm the air the creature breathes, which is especially useful on the cold winter nights of the species' island home. Sprinter hogs usually travel alone, though once a year it seems as though every individual on the island comes together in one herd to eat, reproduce, and cull the local grass. As possible to scavenge as they are to eat plants, sprinter hogs are capable of eating and digesting meat, though you'd be hard pressed to find one actually able to kill something. While not proficient swimmers by any means, they are known to venture into lakes to bathe and dine on the occasional bit of algae. Next, by far the most common tapirid in the known world, the trample. A large, long-legged tapir that, while not fast, have extreme stamina and are known to walk hundreds of miles while only stopping to sleep. They travel in herds of up to several hundred and are migratory, living primarily in a seasonal floodplain. They have thick, insulative skin and are adept swimmers. They will eat anything they can fit in their mouth: plants, carrion, fungi, the occasional rock, anything. As such, they have iron stomachs, leading to their nickname, the Bronze Gut Pig. It's a common form of entertainment for the children of the Enki Prairie to sneak up on tramples and leave out food, in massive air quotes, to just see how much the creature can eat. Sure, it's a bit of a torturous custom, but whatever floats their boat. They are also the only tapir to have been successfully domesticated by people, acting as mounts similarly to horses on Earth. Though, unlike Earth horses, there are still wild populations currently alive. Man, why did we kill all the wild horses? The next largest species is the strange-looking hippier, named as it is a tapir in the niche of a hippo. Very territorial. Did I say that right? Very territorial. Yeah, I said that right. It's territorial, I think. Very territorial and very aggressive. The strange semi-aquatic creature has fangs and a surprisingly strong bite force for the size of its head. While the name is reminiscent of hippopotamuses, the hippier is closer in physiology to that of a water buffalo, being of a similar size and shape, although these can actually swim. Unlike most of the other tapirs of Doyani, the hippier is an obligate herbivore, sinking down to the riverbed due to their bone density to feed on algae and other aquatic plants, a favorite being horsetails. The large ears may seem out of place on an animal that has to worry about their brain cavity being filled with water, but they're here for a good reason: Anantashisha. A primary predator of the hippier is the largest snake to ever evolve, the aquatic boid Anantashisha, famous for constantly releasing a low-frequency gurgle from its butt, likely caused by unknown chemical properties. While not loud by any means, the hippier's ears are good enough to be able to hear the butt gurgles from several hundred feet away while underwater. Obviously, due to their aggressive nature, there have been no known efforts to domesticate or even tame the hippier. The largest of the tapirs of Doyani, and indeed the largest terrestrial animal of Doyani, is the tyrannitapier, named such for being, well, a tyrant. Hyperaggressivity and territoriality combined with poor eyesight and large size do not make for a friendly animal. They almost exclusively stick to the inland Enki prairie, though do occasionally venture into the forest mosaics in the middle latitudes of the island, where it just so happens most of the people of Doyani live. These things are a menace. They will knock down any and all structures in their way, seemingly just because they can, and do not display any sort of hesitation for killing humans, beasts, or even other tapirs. They're also deceptively fast. You'd expect something as heavy as a pickup truck to be slow as hell, but no, they just had to be on par with horses. I wouldn't wish an encounter with a tyrannitapier on my worst enemy entirely because they die too fast to be able to comprehend the scale of my revenge. The people of the Enki proper have the tyrannitapier as one of the primary demonic forces of their creation myth, saying it was a great tyrannitapier bull who cast the first man and woman down from their heavens onto their prairie and got a herd of their brethren to chase them for eternity. And that, kids, is why the stars and planets follow the sun and moon. Yeah, we have space stuff because of an angry pig horse. Man, 250 some words, and I haven't said a single nice thing about this monstrosity. I mean, there's not much nice to say. They're really big, they have a lot of meat, I guess, but good luck trying to get to that meat. Like the hippier, there have been no attempts to domesticate the demon of the plains, so there was a single recorded attempt to tame one. The guy died. On to the last of the tapirs of the known world. Sorry, second to last. Reading is hard. The largest tapir of Serene in general, the Khan Kelton. The Khan Kelton is the only tapir to successfully establish themselves on mainland Erythrea, living primarily in the Great Iran Plains. As such, they have to deal with the many predators of said plains, including many species of theropod dinosaur, though juveniles also have terror birds, terrestrial crocodilians, and others to handle. It's no surprise, then, that the Khan Kelton is massive, rivaling the great Indracatheres of our own planet's history, and reaching close to the maximum size terrestrial mammals can be. at least rivaling the massive rhinos in weight, if not height. Another thing, they derive from an earlier and more baseful radiation of tapirs on Serene. Fun fact, members of Tapirids have arrived on Serene 3 separate times. The first around 40 million years ago, which diversified quickly as it was right after the most recent mass extinction on the planet, but with only one surviving member, that being the Khan Kelton. The next happening 13 million years ago, where all but 2 living species, including the aforementioned giant, can trace their ancestry, and the most recent arrival happened only 200,000 years ago, and the species originating from that harvest, for lack of a better word. God, I really am just taking a ton of this from Chimere. If you haven't seen Chimere, go watch Chimere. It's on YouTube. Look up Chimere. Otherwise, there will be a link in the description. The guy, Keenan Taylor, great artist, great world builder, great guy from, what I've heard and seen. The chieftain of the prairie, as the Khan Kelton is sometimes called, however, are quite extraordinary in their own right. They live in loosely knit fission fusion herds of up to several dozen, with only 1, maybe 2 adult males, the rest being juveniles and adult females. While the not directly related members of the herd have no true bond, all adults who are capable of protecting others from predators do. Of course, the people of the prairie have a strained relationship with these, for lack of a better word, big-ass things, with their towns occasionally in the way of migration packs, and neither seem to like that. And now onto the final organism of the long-awaited episode, a creature so unlike anything we know today, yet somehow familiar. Known as Harrison's tapir, it is a direct descendant of today's Malayan tapir, only around 3 to 4 times the size. The trunk has elongated and new nerve endings have developed in it for a more sensitive touch, and the hooves have turned back into functional clawed toes for grasping. From the get-go, you wouldn't think they're one of the most advanced creatures to come out of this hellscape of a fictional planet, but you would be wrong. They're sapient. Now, I'm not saying they're a civilization or anything, they're not. The species actually only has a few thousand members remaining, and they're on the decline. The best estimates say that without intervention, they'll be lucky to be alive another 60, 70 years. They're also not very well equipped for the environment they live in. The prevalent forests in the interior of Doyani are temperate rainforests, not tropical. In the winter, while uncommon, it can reach below freezing. Of course, the extra size helps with that, and so does the subcutaneous fat, but that doesn't have any adaptation specifically for weathering the cold. Another thing is their diet. They only have the power to eat plants, and even so, they mostly eat fruit. Sure, if they came across some meat, they would, and they would physically be able to, but no way in the 9 hells they're catching their own. I'm gonna say it right now, they're a poorly adapted species for their environment. It should be no surprise, then, that they have been preyed upon and eaten by humans for long as humans have been here. And humans who are with an asterisk, mostly unaware of their intelligence. The asterisk is there because of why they were named the Harrison's tapir. It was after the person who originally discovered their, in his words, smartness. So, his town doesn't eat them anymore. It's a damn shame they're going extinct. They used to be really successful. Archaeological evidence showed that they covered almost the whole island only 4,000 years ago, which just so happens to be when Homo sapiens arrived. More megafauna for us to kill. Let's go! Tapirs are an old, diverse, but not that diverse group of medium-sized hoofed mammals from our past and present. But on Serene, it's a different story. With a large variety of body plans, niches, and sizes, it wouldn't be that hard to assume that they aren't all even in the same family. I like tapirs. You, statistically speaking, like tapirs. I've never met a person who doesn't like tapirs, except for Max, but we don't talk about him, and I hope to keep that record going. So go ahead, tell me in the comments if you like tapirs, or whatever the hell YouTubers do nowadays, and while you're down there, check the description for all the things one might need. Sources, Discord server, background music, etc. Thank you all for watching. I will be back in another 3 to 4 months.